day, everyone. Richard Copperthwaite for Northwest Access TV. Thanks for joining us. And we're with Brendan Deso, the chair of the St. Albans Town Select Board. Hey, Brendan.
Hey, Richard. How
Good
are
to see you. I'm just fine. I should note that we're taping this show on Monday, February 7th. Hey, had some winter around here kind of for a change. That was a pretty impressive snowstorm, huh?
Yeah, they finally predicted a heavy snowfall, and it came true.
Finally, I should have gotten in some cross-country skiing yesterday. Didn't quite make it, but
Beautiful.
Burlington had about 15 inches of snow. Looked about the same around here.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think Public Works did with the storm?
Well, I think everybody in the county did really well.
Yeah.
Our crews are all stretched thin this time of year with the amount of overtime they're asked to work, and they always come through for us and keep our roads open. And
Yeah, it looked like local roads were in pretty decent shape.
yeah, all the way around. I mean, I'm going through Highgate, Swanton, St. Albans mostly, but St. Albans City, St. Albans Town, Swanton Town and Village, Highgate, and V-Trans, they all do really well.
I guess, V-Trans running into the same issue that everybody else is, and maybe some local municipalities just not enough snowplow drivers, I guess.
Well, that's a major focus within our Department of Public Works.
Is that an issue for you folks?
So it was an issue that we talked about a lot in our budget, and it's reflected in our salary line within the Department of Public Works. We're looking to bump our salaries in a way that will allow us to retain everybody. We made a stride maybe 3 years ago, trying to catch up with the marketplace, and we've given regular raises since we've made that jump, and we're behind again, so we're gonna have to do that leap one more time. But we found areas within the Public Works budget to cover that, and knowing that the property tax pressure is a huge issue for our voters.
Are you fully staffed at this point, or?
Knock on wood, nobody quit over the weekend. Yeah, yeah, we are, luckily. You read about towns in like Massachusetts paying outrageous amounts per hour for private contractors to help take care of public roads. It's the wild west out there, and every trucking firm that needs CDL drivers is offering. All the decent ones are offering pretty huge sign-on bonuses and very high wages and 100% of medical. So we're in okay shape as the town, and our guys know that if the voters approve this budget before them for town meeting day, that more help will be on the way in March, July 1st when the new fiscal year starts. Right. So I gotta take my hat off to the Public Works Director and the town manager for coming forward and programming that money in the budget, and the select board backs it 110%, and we hope to just retain everybody. We've got a pretty good crew at the moment.
So March town meeting day not far away, and again, in fact, I stopped by the town clerk's office, talked to the town clerk Anna Borden, and folks can vote now. Again, are you going to be mailing out ballots to town residents? Yeah.
So I think we're the only community in the Maple Run School District that's mailing ballots out. We're doing the same thing we did last year. It just about doubled our average town meeting day participation.
Got up to like 35-40% or even higher?
Yeah, I mean, I think we touched 1,800 last year.
Really?
And a normal town meeting, when there's not a big ticket item on the ballot, you can set your clock to about 900 to 1,000 votes.
Wow, so that about doubled it or so.
Mm-hmm.
Huh? So again, it looks like St. Albans City and Fairfield apparently are not mailing out ballots.
Yeah, and I mean, that's always a staffing constraint, and each community makes its own choice, but our clerk's office and our administrative team upstairs will work together. We'll probably have to put a lot of things on the back burner for a couple days this week as we get everything stuffed and ready to go, but we'll take care of it in-house, and the ballot should be out. We'll get a concrete update tonight at our select board meeting at 6:30, but the last update was to expect them to be in the mail this week.
Again, taping the show on Feb 7, I would assume any place in the state, folks can probably by now request an absentee ballot, I would certainly think.
Absolutely.
So if you can't wait till town meeting day, March 1st, you can vote early. But again, not in-person voting, no in-person gathering, but in-person voting is still good for
absolutely.
Tuesday, March 1st, of course.
We'll be there up at the complex, 7 to 7.
Hey, we have a select board race in the town. Of course, I think last show we talked about losing two solid board members, and your vice chair, Jessica Frost, and Aaron Creeley. And again, Jeffrey Sanders running unopposed for a 3-year term, and we have a contest for that 2-year term. Jack Brigham and Joe Sinagra. Are you supporting? Are you jumping into that race?
I'm going to come at that one from a position of neutrality at the moment. I've
Might,
learned a lot
might,
from,
might that change before March 1st?
I've learned a lot from Jack, and I know that Joe's got a lot of good experience
Yeah.
with like the Home Builders and Remodelers Association, and
Yeah, I would say two certainly pretty solid candidates.
They're
Jack,
two
of
really
course, a
solid
former
candidates.
select board member too.
yeah, and it's just nice to see the voters have a choice.
Yeah, I
and,
agree. And
yeah,
for the
two good
record, I'll be
choices.
I'll be sitting down with those folks. By my count, 4 contested races in the St. Albans Swanton area,
Wow.
and I'm hoping to interview all the candidates. Most of them sitting down together. Didn't have total success with that, but anyway. But yeah, voters do have a choice. Again, Brendan, the budget about a $5.3 million budget for the town for the upcoming fiscal year. You're comfortable with that?
Have to be. We review every line of this budget every year, looking for places to find, excess revenue. And it usually turns out that we get to the end of a fiscal year with a fund balance, a healthy fund balance of, $200,000 to $300,000 or more. And that's, you don't spend every nickel in your budget, and you don't go over every line, and that's a product of that. And we usually always return most of it to the taxpayer, and then we keep a portion of it in our general fund so that we don't have to borrow money from a lender in anticipation of taxes like some communities do.
Right.
So we're able to pay our bills until that first quarterly payment is due in August.
Right. And indeed, one of the warning items is to authorize the select board to use up to $200,000 of prior year general fund balance to reduce taxes for the upcoming. I suspect that's not a lot of suspense about whether that's going to pass.
No, that always is. That always passes with.
Is that a typical? Is that on every year typically?
Yeah,
for,
usually it's between 100 and 300,000, and that's us just taking whatever was left over that was unspent from a prior fiscal year and buying the tax rate down as much as we can. We've previously put some of it in an emergency reserve. We've got $500,000 ready to go in case of an emergency. We've got, last time I got an update from our clerk treasurer, Anna Borden, we had, the beginning of the fiscal year, we had roughly $650,000 in our general fund checking account. So we're in pretty healthy shape, having no debt other than the town hall, which we had asked voters for permission to borrow for up to a 15-year term, but we decided with the good growth in the local option tax revenue, we could shorten it to 10 years in an
Really?
effort to save about $150,000 in interest.
That's great. So that's what you're going to do. That's the
Yep.
plan.
So instead
Wow.
of spending about $210,000 for a 15-year term, we're going to do, I think the final number was $298 and change for a 10-year, and it's going to save about $150,000 in interest over the life of the loan.
And of course, the new town hall being funded with LOT money, local option tax money, as
Yep.
opposed to property tax money.
Yep,
That's
absolutely.
right. And again, construction, as we always ask you about, pretty much you're looking for a early summer opening, or
I'm hoping, the last update was we've got sheetrock going in this week. The mechanical folks are in and out every day. The roof is going on. I'm expecting a late April, early May move-in.
No, really, wow.
So, and we're on time and on budget, best we know. So,
And again, price tag for the town hall is
well, if you take the pre-development and then the land costs, you're looking at just under $5 million.
Wow.
Construction cost is $4.5 million.
wow.
Yep.
Yeah, big project. Again, any more rumblings about what might happen to the soon-to-be former town hall?
Yeah, being that we only have, I want to say, a staff of about 20 full-time employees, including the fire chief and whatnot, we don't have a huge bandwidth to be able to take on too many projects at once. And with what we've got our director of operations working on with the Bay Sewer project and that process, we just ascertained an engineering firm to help us get started with that. That's one of our intended uses for the ARPA dollars, the 1.9 or so million dollars that we've got coming our way. We want to do some decentralized sewer systems in the St. Albans Bay area, both as a water quality and economic development initiative together. So you get the town hall, you've got that project, we've got our stormwater utilities off the ground running after grants as fast as they can get them. So we expect to be doing some projects this year. So once the town hall wraps and we move out of it and into the new one and get situated, I think we'll be able to give the prior building a lot more focus. And I would expect that as people actually see us move out of it, that we might have some folks or organizations in the community reach out to us. But yeah, we're still in a little bit of a hold pattern on that one.
So obviously the hope is there'll be some use for it. Do you think that's realistic or?
Oh, definitely. I
Yeah.
don't think it'll be an apartment building. The sewer can barely accommodate a small commercial operation, and of course, when you have, actual bedrooms, the gallons per day amount needed for your septic system goes up astronomically. I think I did the math on it maybe a year or two ago, and the existing septic system might be able to support roughly a bedroom or two.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know, though. You could see us do a decentralized sewer system that could open up some opportunities for that building.
Interesting. Out of curiosity, have you discussed that building with Jim Cameron by any chance? Jim, of course, taking over going after the old courthouse on the bottom of Kingman Street, I guess.
We have not.
Have not.
We have not.
Anyway, well, hopefully buildings serve the town pretty well, I would say.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
How old is that building?
Oh, gosh. Got to be going on 150 years at
Is
least.
that really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, when did we chartered in, 1766?
Huh.
I have to remember. You're catching me early in the morning on a
It's
Monday.
okay.
A couple hours from now, I'd probably be able to rattle all that information off to you.
So
but
you would certainly hope there's a future to that building?
I would like to see a nonprofit or two share it.
Yeah.
I'd like to see it renovated to some extent, and I'd like to see some nonprofits that support the St. Albans area utilize that building.
Huh.
Whether it's NCSS making it a part of the SOAR campus with the Old Bay School, or maybe the sheriff's office could have some use for it, for like a Franklin County Regional Dispatching Center. There's there's a lot of different nonprofits out there that probably could use some space, and I know that the town isn't looking to get top dollar for it.
Right.
If we know that it's going to be utilized to support the area. So
And what about the old Public Works garage site on the bay? Any more thoughts about the future of that site?
well, right now it's being used as a staging ground for the new town hall.
Right.
The old salt shed is full of materials for that. Well monitored, by the way, in case there's anybody out there thinking that they can go take a couple of sheets of plywood and retire early. So we do intend to try to turn that into a boat launch in some capacity. We're aware that there are some environmental constraints that would require dredging, and that there's an old sunken barge that would need to be pulled. But we're having very early conversations with the state of Vermont, and we feel like at a minimum we'll be able to do like a public kayak launch, canoe launch, try to take some stress off of Kilcare and Hathaway Point.
And we
But,
certainly talked about that. Boy, some busy summer days are pretty crazy out there.
yeah, I mean, it gets down to almost single lane traffic at
Yeah.
Hathaway Point around West Shore Road. It's not, it's nothing new, but it's something that needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
And the more boating traffic we can bring into the St. Albans area, the better off we'll all be. It's a big local option tax revenue boost, and it helps our two businesses down there, the Bay Store and Bayside. And the more people that come and launch and see how nice the area is, and that the Bay Store's been nicely renovated, and that Bayside has wonderful food, they might be apt to rent a slip from the St. Albans Bay Marina.
Yeah.
And people come up from Chittenden County to launch a boat, then they decide to dock it there permanently, then they decide to move up and build a house. So that's we view it all as a snowball effect.
Marina coming off a pretty decent summer, would you say? I know you talked to those folks, obviously.
I think every year for them has been a record year.
Yeah.
They're really looking forward to seeing their Canadian customers return at some point. I think the last estimate was that they were missing out at about 20 potential slip rentals by not having that border open.
Yeah.
So,
Boy, an issue, obviously, for just about any business in Franklin County, obviously.
well, it's sad when you go over the bridge into New York and you see all the sailboats that have been
Yeah.
there for a couple years, and you just wonder how many of them have been damaged inside the they're all tarped over, but how many of them have been damaged by animals, and the owners haven't been able to be here in years, and
Yeah.
you feel for the folks on the other side of the border that love to come here and in small ways invest in our communities, and recreate on our lake, and
Boy, the border issue continues, and again, you personally can talk about that better than most folks. The border issue continues to be real tough, huh?
Yeah, my mother-in-law was able to cross this weekend
Really?
to link up with her sister to go visit their mother in Quebec City.
Huh.
So it's nice that that's possible. I mean, they're Canadian citizens; they could have crossed at any point anyway. But
Right.
it's the testing formalities are becoming more of a norm, and people are finding the way to get through it. And we were able to see my brother-in-law not long after Christmas time, and it was good. So
Well,
it's good to see that
a huge story north of the border is the Ottawa situation with the truckers. Boy,
Yeah.
that's a pretty wild story, huh?
yeah, good luck to the Canadian government. Like, I'm glad that's not happening in St. Albans.
Yeah.
Just put it that way.
And apparently the truckers just upset about having vaccination requirements, even though I'm hearing most of them are vaccinated.
I guess. We've got so many problems here at home. It's hard to pay attention to what's going on in Ottawa for me, especially the last 72 hours with all the snow. But
Yeah.
I tell you, good luck, Prime Minister Trudeau. You're going to need it by the looks of it.
Sounds like it. Now, the pandemic, I guess numbers have been looking a little better in Vermont, I guess, in the last week or two. But, boy, talk about, again, we're just about 2 years into this, and it sure doesn't seem like it's abating anytime soon.
Well, it'd be nice to get out of this thing, and it seems like it gets.
It'd be nice
a
to get
little-
out of winter, I guess, at least get into warmer weather.
It seems like as warmer weather comes into play, there might be a seasonality to this that we just haven't mapped out yet, kind of like
Yeah.
the flu. It seems like case counts get much lower in the summer, so it'll be interesting to get out of this Omicron surge and get into the spring, summer months, and then figure out if it's going to be a new variant in the fall, if we're going to be going into, year 4. It's getting pretty hairy, but we're all still doing the right thing. We're getting boosted. We're wearing masks when we need to. And
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of folks with N95s and following CDC and VDH guidelines, and
Yeah.
that's all we can do. And it seems like a lot of governments, all the way from municipalities up through the federal government, are saying that new restrictions are going to help. We can't shut the country down again, but who knows? We're another variant from New Zealand or some other place away from having a
Yeah.
whole new plate in
Yeah,
front of us.
who knows? Town hall obviously open again. I walked in the other day. Select board meetings are open to the
We're doing public by Zoom right
public
now.
by Zoom.
That meeting hall, especially, we've got a
Right.
lot of finished materials that are being delivered to that
Right.
building for the new town hall, and we've
Yeah.
just got no place to put them. So a lot of them are ending up in the boardroom. And then when we hired the stormwater coordinator, we had no office space available, so we built a makeshift cubicle in the boardroom for her to be able to work out of. And between that and all that material, there's hardly any room for the public to sit. It's not, within
Right.
10, 15 feet of the board.
Yeah.
So until we get into that new space, we're probably looking at public by Zoom only.
Yeah.
But sure,
How many people are zooming in? Do you know or
depends
not?
on the issue. Some nights there's none. Some there's
Really?
as many as 10 to 15. It depends what's
Yeah.
going on. But
You'll be in better shape, I can only assume, at the new town hall with a much
wide
bigger
open.
room.
Yeah, much bigger room. We're looking forward to that. We'll
Yeah.
be back to having the public in person. And if case counts drop and we're able to, start to shuffle this material over to the town hall as it's
Yeah.
ready to be utilized and installed, then we'll reevaluate. It's we have a meeting every week or two, so we're reevaluating it about that often. So
But again, we're talking another 3 months or so. You might be in that new building in about 3 months or so.
we're
Huh?
hoping by May we're having meetings there.
Wow.
So it'll be interesting to see if it all wraps up. There's always a punch list at the end, and who
Yeah.
knows what materials may be shorted. But we've got some really intelligent people managing the project.
Will you
for
bring
us,
in
so-
just for the actual move? I'm sure staff can't wait to get in the new building, but moving's never a lot of fun.
Well, I tell you, we've got Corey Parent has a space heater in his office because there's no
Is that right?
HVAC in his office at all.
Oh.
It's the old copier room. It was the old auditorium space upstairs. They framed out the break
Right.
room area, the town manager's office, and then what was a copier room. Corey's in the copier room. He's got
Oh.
absolutely no heat at all.
Really?
And
Wow.
we're glad that we're not going to have to ask our employees to go another summer of utilizing window AC units that trip breakers constantly. You know, they can't make a pot of coffee in the morning and have their air comfortable without having to venture down to the basement and play with the electrical system. So,
Yeah, it sounds like you could use, every once in a while, people ask me, Richard, why are they getting a new town hall? I think you can make a pretty good case for it.
it would have been, you know, probably $3 to $4 million to renovate that
Really?
building. And
Almost as much, huh?
yeah, and we would have renovated the basement into usable square footage.
Yeah.
All 3 floors would have amounted to about 9,200 square feet. This new building's 13,000, and it's got room to be expanded.
Huh.
So, I tell you, my kid, my 4-month-old, he's a 7th generation resident of St. Albans.
Really? That's
Yeah.
impressive.
Our family goes back to before there was a city and a town. We just go back to St. Albans. And my grandfather went through his first few grades of grade school in that building. And, you know, it's pretty neat to be in a board that uses that same room that was his, you know, schoolhouse. It's sad to leave the building. We're going to have to really work hard, you know, for the next couple of years to find a suitable use or user for the building. And, you know, it will get some kind of a useful life going forward. What that'll look like, I don't know. But
Brendan, we talked before, again, one of the articles for voters at March town meeting to authorize the retail sale of cannabis within town limits. I've heard no talk about that. Are you hearing much talk about that?
I haven't had a single person bring that up to me.
Not one person?
Nope.
Interesting.
Not outside of town hall.
What, would you guess that passes, or any feel for that?
You know, we put it off to the voters because we have no idea.
Oh.
And I think our board is pretty split on how they feel personally, but we all came to the conclusion that we should just allow the voters to exercise their will on this. So we'll see. We'll see. And if it passes, we'll be ready to go with our planning commission to implement some interim bylaws to appropriately zone for it.
To be honest, I'm not paying a lot of attention to that issue statewide. Are we getting closer in Vermont to, places folks can go and buy marijuana? Is that happening even later this year, maybe? I know there's a commission that the governor, I guess, appointed or whatever.
Well, there was a law passed that allowed communities to opt in or out, and there's the Cannabis Control Board. That's a 3-member board appointed by the governor that's overseeing a lot of the regulation that the eventual licensees that open dispensaries and manufacturing operations that they'll have to abide by. I think it'll be treated a lot like liquor and lottery eventually. I think you'll see probably state-sponsored stores, much like you do spirits today. But I don't know. It'll be interesting. Some communities will pass it, others will fail it, and then I think eventually the legislature will get sick of having one town be. It'll turn into, okay, I'm in a dry town here, I'm in a wet town here, kind of like alcohol, several decades back, and I think the legislature will come back out and just say blanket rules for the whole state, whether you opted out or not. So we'll see. We'll see.
Another issue, and I know you have a vested interest, strong supporter of this, asking town voters to add $10,000 to the previously approved $15,000 appropriation for the St. Albans Museum, and it sounds like the museum could use some more bucks.
Yeah, and there was a private person that reached out and challenged the town and city, and that private person said if either or both of the communities make that increase, that they'll give a one-time dollar for dollar matching. They called it a challenge grant. So if the city passes it and the town fails it, the person will still donate $10,000 to the museum. If both communities pass it, it's obviously $20,000. So we have an opportunity to see what was $32,500 in municipal contributions this year, with the challenge grant hit about $70,000, which would be huge for us.
Wow.
There's a lot of federal money available and state money available for venues like ours, and a lot of the grants require matching funds. And if you drive by, you'll see our front steps aren't really safe to walk on. The roof needs work. We just spent $20,000 on the chimney that we didn't really have to spend. We can't be open in the winter because all of the exhibit rooms have no HVAC at all. There's no heat or air conditioning. You'll see even when we're open in the summer, sometimes we have to close due to heat for the safety of our volunteers. So it's interesting to see what'll happen. And I say that more as the vice president of the St. Albans Museum Board than I do the town select board chair. But yeah, so I'll be voting for it, but I can understand that there's a lot of pressure on property taxpayers, and at some point people have to vote no on things. And I just hope that this one's not the one, but we'll see.
Interesting. Anything to report with Sheriff's Department patrolling the town? I was interested talking to the folks in Highgate, the town clerk the other day, and St. Albans City will continue to patrol Highgate, but it was interesting to me the Sheriff's Department didn't even go for that contract. I don't know if that's a staffing issue or what, but things going okay in the town? I
had a St. Albans City councilor reach out to me Wednesday, Thursday last week, saying that they had a close call with that slip lane by just after Price Chopper, between Price Chopper and Duncan. People tried to use it as a passing lane, and we reached out to the sheriff's office that day, and by that next morning there was a deputy there doing traffic calming with his blue lights on. So
really?
I tell you, that's really indicative of our relationship with the sheriff's office. We reach out with a concern, and it's answered pretty immediately. We had a resident on social media and emailing us about what was a long time issue of animals in the road on Dunsmore Road at a certain part on Dunsmore Road. Right. And the sheriff's office really handled that beautifully.
Yeah, that issue got some attention, obviously.
Yeah, and it was handled really well. It was a volunteer forfeiture of the animals to rescue organizations, and it was facilitated by the sheriff's office. And so there's a lot of good stories happening out of our law enforcement relationship, and the sheriff's been an open book about sharing data. The St. Albans Police Department was too, but I think we're in a pretty good spot with law enforcement.
That's right. Of course, Sheriff Langevin, I think a long-time St. Albans town resident himself, of course.
Yeah, and he was an SRO at town school when he worked for the St. Albans Police Department, and he was a former trooper. So he knows a lot of the inner workings of the agencies that he interacts with, and he's a really personable guy, and I enjoy working with him a lot. Yeah.
So the big issue, of course, voters a year ago approved the town hall. Certainly, biggest issue in St. Albans town. Biggest issue this year, Brendan. Obviously, you're putting the finishing touches, but nothing approaching the town hall issue.
There's nothing. Well, if you look at dollars per year, we're looking to formalize how we pay for our public works and parks equipment. It used to be, going back as long as I can remember, you'd have an article that'd come in front of you that said, can we raise taxes up to, say, $100,000 to buy this truck? And then can we also raise $10,000 per year every year after to fund its replacement in 10 years?
Just to tell you, down to about 1 minute left here.
Okay, so we've got an article in front of the voters for $200,000 per year that covers a 10-year capital plan to replace all of our public works and parks equipment. Right. And what the effort is behind that is to, instead of every year you either paying for nothing, your property tax rate goes down, or some years you have to pay for a lot and it can go up as much as 3-4 cents. We want to program in 2 cents across the board for a 10-year period, and just have it baked in to the tax rate, and not have to see the fluctuation that we see sometimes. And it's the same exact model that we use for the fire department, that $125,000 per year that the voters just approved for a 5-year period. I want to say 2 town meeting days ago. So we found something that's worked well, and we're trying to expand on it. So.
Okay, on that note, and again, March Town Meeting Day not far away, Tuesday, March 1st, and again, town residents will be getting ballots in the mail, hopefully another very good turnout. Thanks to Brendan Deso, the chair of the St. Albans Town Select Board, producer Roger, I'm Richard Copperthwaite. See you next time.